When you're buying or selling a home, it can be very emotional. That's why having a realtor to be the representation for you, to represent your best interest, is the best way to make sure that you don't let your emotions get in the way of the best deal. So when you're a seller, that process is very different than obviously being a buyer. You're having people come to your property, visit your home, give feedback about your home. That itself can be very emotional for a seller to hear feedback and just always be in and out of the property. So that can take a long time if you're priced too high, and that process itself can let a seller feel the emotions and the stress that comes with selling a home. When you're on the market for a while, this can be, people look at time very different, but this can be a week, 2 weeks, months. Sometimes staying on the market for a while can make a seller think that they're never gonna sell. That is a very stressful process too, because you feel like other properties are selling at a certain price and you maybe think that you're never going to get the price that you need to move into a home. And it gets even more stressful when you commit to a property to buy and you have to sell at a certain point. So these are points in the transaction that can make the seller feel overwhelmed and never feel like they're going to sell at what they're looking for. When it's time to receive offers, that can be a very different experience for many people. You may get offers that are below what your expectations are, and the more offers you get, the more that's the market speaking to you as a seller for what they value the property at. So having offers that are coming below what you're looking for can be obviously very stressful for a seller. So it's up to the realtor to be able to explain these things as to why the price that you're listed at may be a little bit overpriced and what makes the most sense if you want to get offers that make sense for the marketplace, so that you don't feel like it's the realtor's fault or it's other reasons as to why you're not selling. You need to get explained why you're getting these offers, and it may be the realtor's fault that's not explaining these things in the beginning. So these are key things to not feel stressed when you're a seller. The key that you want to do is find a middle ground with the buyer. So whatever they're offering, they're obviously trying to get the cheapest price. You're trying to get the most for your home. So as the realtor, you're trying to make the deal happen to find the middle ground. Obviously, when you're representing the seller, you're trying to get them the most, and so is the realtor who's representing the buyer. But finding that middle ground is very key in the process to be able to get a deal done. And if that process is never met in the middle, or it's always one-sided to where, let's say, the seller's demanding something that's way more than what the buyers are paying, that deal's never gonna get done. So it's very important for the realtor to communicate these things and make the seller understand what the true market value is. Now let's talk about being a buyer. So it's stressful when you're selling a home because you have people coming in. Imagine when you're the buyer and you always have to visit new properties. That can be very emotional in itself, because now you're thinking that you're never gonna find the right property, whereas being a seller, you're thinking that you're never gonna sell your property. So there's always stress when it comes to both sides. But when you're visiting a lot of properties within a certain price point and you don't find what it is you're looking for, that's very stressful, especially for young families that need to find a home for their family within a certain time period, who maybe have children that have to go to school at a certain point. So all these things can add stress. So it's up to the realtor to be able to alleviate these stresses and make the buyer know that patience is key, but it's also key things that the realtor does in order to get inventory. For example, targeting a neighborhood with flyers or speaking to people directly that may want to sell, but you're not just waiting on the market for new properties to come. And this can make you think that there's never the right house that's out there for what you're looking for, but truly you just may not have seen the right property, and that can take a little bit of patience, but it's up to the realtor to explain these things and make sure that they're not emotional about that as well. When you're a realtor, you have to be the person who does not have the emotions attached to the property or to the whole process, and just explain to the buyers that, we may have to target different areas, or we may have to look for different things. Whatever it is, it's up to the realtor to make level-headedness out of the situation. And I'll talk about a very stressful process for a buyer that has happened a lot since the COVID times, that has really increased the marketplace, and that's multiple offers. When you've been in an offer presentation for so many times, and what that means is you're competing with other buyers for properties, when that's something that you experience all the time, that can really take the confidence out of the process for you as a buyer, and it really takes out the pleasure that comes with buying a new home. So this itself can be very stressful for buyers, and that may make them have a sour taste when it comes to buying a home. It may also make them rush into buying the wrong home. So it's very key for the realtor to play that part in making them understand that, if you're competing with other buyers, this is what you should do. This is what's going to position you to get the property, and this is what you do to get your best foot forward to make sure that you're the offer that the seller takes. Being in between as a realtor, it's very important to communicate with the other agent or with your client to make sure that they don't get too emotional in the process and ruin the deal itself. Because of their emotions getting in the way. So, as agents, we don't have an emotional attachment to these properties, but it's our job to make sure that the deal gets done. And that's what we're going to be judged by in the end of the day. So this is a tip to all realtors out there who may have difficulty getting deals done because they're letting the emotions of the sellers or the buyers get in the way. That's your duty, to be able to find the middle ground, to be able to find the right wording, communicate properly, and make sure that the deal gets done for both sides.